And we're back.
All right, very good. Does that actually pick it up? Does anybody?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, nice. Good. All right. I am talking about the oil supply and the scavenge pump. What's a scavenge pump?
Feeds oil back to the oil.
Yeah, it's just another pump that's going to suck up the oil and put it back into the engine. That's where the oil came from. So it's got to go through the engine. It's part of the engine oil supply system. So like I said, if you lose an oil hose going to the turbocharger, you're going to lose all the oil. I was listening to a podcast about a guy who had lost his turbocharger. Turbocharger failed. So if the turbocharger fails in flight, say the bearing seizes up or turbine wheel comes apart or the compressor, something flies in the compressor and locks it up, is that catastrophic?
No, you have the wastegate.
Okay. Well, let's talk about exhaust, because if you plug up an exhaust outlet, that's catastrophic. Engines, you're doomed. Doomed is doomed. Screwed, actually. It's a combination of screwed and doomed. If the compressor, the turbo locks up, are you gonna be okay?
Go through the waste. It'll go through.
Yep. Exhaust can be diverted to the wastegate.
Yeah, you're gonna get air around here, right?
Yeah, you can get
Yes,
air.
it's not a positive displacement pump.
Yeah.
So air's going to get through here, and air's going to get through here, and everything's fine, right? They can get through here too.
It's restricted.
It's done. I mean, it's cooked. You can buy a new one. So not necessarily a bad thing.
Your weight balance isn't thrown off.
Yeah, money-wise, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And
Not dead.
wherever you land, that's where you're going to be. Right? You can't land and then take off again with something like that, but it's an emergency. If you lose an oil line, that is a full-blown instant emergency. All right, we got that. These turbochargers, I wish I had better pictures for the lines and stuff, but you just picture a line coming off the back of the engine, going down to the turbocharger, another one off the bottom coming back up to scavenge pump back in the engine. They have wastegates. Yes, they have a wastegate. That's right down there. They have check valves. So they do have check valves to keep the oil flowing one way. And it also keeps oil from backing up and filling the oil lines and then running out of the engine and filling up the turbo while it's off. Because this doesn't have real good seals. What are the seals called in the turbine engine? Yeah. Well, we're not allowed to take these things apart, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly the kind of seals that they have, is labyrinth seals. If you look in there, I mean, you just can't run a regular O-ring. And you don't have regular seals in there. So if this were to flood full of oil, it's just going to run out the seals when it's off and start getting into all this mess and running out your exhaust, which is exactly the problem I was having with that Traveler I was working on. So the question was, is it the seals? And it does have seals, but if you fill it up full of oil and let it sit overnight, it's going to run out. So that makes a mess. So there's check valves to keep the oil from going the wrong way and filling this up overnight. And there have been way too many stories about mechanics turning the check valve the other way around. So that when you start up the airplane and the oil tries to get to the turbo, it can't.
That's not good.
So, I think the biggest take, if you only learned one thing about turbos in this class, I would hope that would not be the case. I think number one would be make sure you put the check valve on right. And number two, don't touch anything else. No touchy. Because if you touch a controller, you're going to mess things up. So don't touch a controller. So, all right. So watch those check valves. Let me see. We have six. Talking about components. The Y. So provides path for exhaust. Gases to either turbo, or what's my other choice?
Wastegate.
Well, that would be overboard. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Then we have the wastegate. This is the main controller of the entire thing. Sort of. Another look at a turbo. Let's see. Turbine wheel, compressor wheel. So this side over here with the turbine wheel is hot or cold side? Hot. This is the cold side. All right, what do you got? Exhaust bypass valve. I'm not sure what this came off of. Flow footing, turbine housing, center housing. You're going to learn about these. The pressure relief valve, absolute pressure controller. That's the wastegate controller valve. It's not attached to the turbo, I don't believe. I've never seen one there. And the sonic venturi. What do you suppose the sonic venturi is for?
Really
Yes. Cabin pressurization.
cool.
Wastegate. All right. Let's not mess this up. There's a valve located in the exhaust line. So if we looked at either one of these two pictures, the exhaust is going to go through this part right here. The exhaust is going to go through this part right here. All right. When open, I'm going to write this down so we can all keep track of this, especially me. This is the part where I will say it backwards if I'm not careful. So it is a valve located in the exhaust line, which is to say it's in the exhaust system. B, so it is a butterfly valve. When open, I'm just EX is exhaust. Exhaust gases leave exhaust and bypass turbo to overboard. That is turbo off. So you want to keep that straight. Open is off. When the waste is open, turbo's off. When closed, exhaust gases flow past turbo, then overboard, which is turbo on. Let's go back to this. When the wastegate is, let's get this going here. And let's get back. When the wastegate is, well, right there, what is that?
Closed.
Closed. Turbo is on. All right. When it is open, well, turbo is off. All right, I've oversimplified it. Doesn't really work quite like that, but it's obviously a throttle with varying degrees of onness and offness. That's a good thing.
That makes sense.
30% on.
Yes, it is. Furthermore, it's never entirely off. And the reason why, and this is never fully closed, and it can be fully open, but you can't fully close it. If you fully close it, then the sides of it start touching, and you got a lot of heat. Remember, if you're,
You'll probably want that.
yeah, it's just not good to have those pieces touching. So it's going to be close to it, but never. And you never want the turbo off, because you are, in fact, always going to be getting some sort of leakage hitting this. And so if this side up here on the top stayed nice and cool, and this side got here was all exposed to the exhaust constantly, and it's not rotating, you'll get uneven heating, and then it will crack. All right. All right, so we got that. Open is off. And closed is closed is on.
Closed is open and open is closed.
Closed is what?
Closed is
On.
On. All right. Extra credit for this guy. That's you. Not on my grade book, just right here where it counts.
Here's a star sticker.
Wasn't that good?
You should hand out golden stars.
I really should. I used to hand out kisses. The chocolate type. But it got confusing for some people, so you know. Can I give you a kiss?
Ryan did too.
They're like, what?
What I do?
This is news to me.
You're trying to get Kevin a
All right, so the wastegate. So what operates the wastegate? Well, if we just kind of analyze it a little bit here, see we got a spring right there and a butterfly. And the spring looks like it does what? Holds it open. So open is off. And what's going to close it is we have oil coming into here, going into this chamber, and then out. Just right off to the engine. And so if we were to close off this oil port and oil is coming in here, what's the oil going to do in here?
Pressurize.
Pressurize that, push against this, and
Close it.
close it.
Is that the outlet or the inlet?
This is the inlet. We'll close it on the outlet. Yeah.
Is the oil that gets to that system like ring off of the oil that goes to the turbo as well?
Yep.
So
They're all interconnected. Yep. It doesn't go engine, turbo, wastegate, engine.
yeah.
It's
Right.
it's got to come off a different system. So you'd have something that just goes engine, turbo, engine. That's got to be its own system.
Yeah.
Because this system here, we're going to turn it off and on.
Oh.
Right? So one more time. If I have an oil line going into this wastegate, and I will. So oil line's coming right into here. Oil line. You like my drawings. There's an oil hose. Ah, now I get it. So oil's going to come in, and it's going to could push on that, except now it's going to it's going to go out. Right? It just flows through and doesn't do anything until
Close off
I close that off. Now what happens?
Pressure.
Oil is going to pressurize that, start pushing the piston this way, right, to be better, and then it's going to do what to the butterfly?
Close.
Start to close it. Okay? But I don't want it to close. So what do?
Open the.
Open it back up. Open that back up. Now the oil's going to drain out, and the wastegate's going to open. Turbo's going to start
Stop.
slowing down. So that's how we're going to control it. Just put some oil in and decide if I want to block it off or let it go. It's that simple. So we just put a valve in the cockpit. So it's more turbo, less turbo. We're not going to do that really. At all. But you
We're
could.
gonna automate that too. Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
automate that.
You automate it. All right.
I don't like that.
Let's see. Yes, this works great. All right, so we have 3 basic types of wastegates. We'll start with the most simple. What? It's fixed. It's just a bolt. It uses an adjustable. The word is the adjustable screw, which I've written down. It's not. It's a bolt. So why don't we just call it a bolt? To block a certain amount of exhaust to turbo. So you have the Y, right where we'd have a butterfly. You take a bolt, put it in there. If you put the bolt in more, makes more go up the wastegate. Let's see what the drawing looks like. That's manual. So instead of putting it here, we just put a bolt right here. You with me so far? I just put a bolt right there. Boom. So this particular case, if I put the bolt right there, that would mean that a certain amount will get through that bolt off to this, and some of it's going to go to the wastegate and then out. The Piper Seneca uses that. It's just a bolt. It's a nut welded to the exhaust, and at the factory, when they build the engine and build the exhaust system, they put the bolt in, put it in so far, calibrate it, and you're done. Boom.
So it's just a simple restriction.
Simple restriction. And you don't mess with it. I think it was Lycoming School. Guy got me on that one. He says, so what do you do if you start to get low manifold pressure? How do you adjust it? And so he screwed the bolt in more. He goes, eh. He goes, why were you messing with it? Don't mess with it. If you lose the manifold pressure, you got a turbo problem. So don't mess with the bolt. Which, by the way, if you ever worked on exhaust systems, you're not going to mess with the bolt anyway. It welds itself in there after a few hours, so it's not coming back out. So you'll break it off before you move it. But anyway, that's all it is, just a simple one. Then we can have manually operated, which I'll write in a minute. So this is manually operated. So I like how, I don't know if there's something missing here. It looks like a faucet to me. So I'm not sure what happened there. What's that? What I'm missing here. But manually, let me see what the next one looks like. Is this one better? We'll go get that one. So we can have a very manual. Instead of a thing that looks like a faucet, we will just put a wastegate here, and we'll tie that in to go this way, the cockpit, and we'll just have a turbo controller. I don't know a lot of planes that have that. I think one of the first turbocharged airplanes I rode in when I got in the industry was, they did camera stuff, so it was kind of an interesting plane. But it had a manual turbo controller. And so I remember taking off from Auburn, and the guy just kind of takes the center line and he just firewalls it. Not everything is the firewall except the turbo controller. His feet are on the brakes, and he starts turning in the turbo controller and just brings the boost all the way up to the maximum, then feet off the brakes, and away we go. So you got to watch your manifold pressure and your boost pressure the whole time. So now you're kind of managing both the wastegate and your throttle. It'd be a handful if you ask me. I don't know how. So. Yeah, it's just exactly what you need. One more knob.
Dawn's gonna be purple.
What's that?
Dawn's gonna be purple.
Sure.
Why not?
All right, but notice what else do we have on here?
Pressure relief.
Pressure relief valve. That's connected to nothing, right? So you don't control it. It's, I guess in automotive we call it a pop-off valve.
Blow off
Yeah,
valve.
blow off.
Yeah, okay? So when you mess this up, this is there to save your bacon.
But if you ever need it, you failed, right?
I don't know about that.
It just seems like you should be managing the system, that if you ever get to the point where you need the blow-off valve, well, it's not a blow-off valve.
Yeah, you're
That's
mismanaging
something
it.
different. It's a pressure relief valve.
There's a way to screw it up. Pilots will screw it up.
Absolutely, we'll invent a new way. But yes, so if the manifold upper deck pressure, well, let's see, we do have a manifold in here anywhere? No, they didn't even put one in here. If this line right here, if this thing right here, manifold pressure, upper deck, I think it's be manifold pressure exceeds a certain limit, you have a spring-operated valve right there. So the air pressure is just going to push that valve up and vent any extra gases so that you won't have an excess manifold pressure, which would then be an overboost, which could require an overhaul, major overhaul of the engine. You don't want that. So we just have a fixed. We have manually operated. So manually operated. Let's see. Pilot operated push-pull cable. Okay, so there's that type, manual operated push-pull cable. There is this type, which has got a pilot interconnect. So now you've only got your throttle again. So it's just a throttle, but the throttle is also interconnected, which means it operates the wastegate. So as you add throttle and you open up your throttle, asking for more air, you would open up the wastegate and you close the wastegate
To get more.
and get more boost out of it. And then as you close the throttle, you would open the wastegate.
Reduce.
If you didn't do that, we'll talk about this. You get a super sensitive bootstrapping is what it's called. I think it's very sensitive. Very, very tiny movements make huge differences. So what ends up, I can jump. Yeah, I can jump ahead a little bit. So what would happen then without controlling the wastegate? If you didn't have a wastegate and everything just kind of went to the turbo and the turbo just spinning away like crazy, and you're like, well, we'll just control it all with the throttle. So what happens is you add some throttle. So what happens when you add throttle? Engine speeds up. Engine speeds up. You get more exhaust gas. It starts to turbocharge. Turbocharge spools up. Well, I didn't want that much throttle. Now the manifold pressure starts to climb. Whoa, that's too much. So you back it off a little bit. You back it off a little bit, get it to the right spot. Well, now the engine starts to slow down a little bit. The gases, which now starts to slow down the turbo, which now you start to see your manifold pressure start to hunt down. It's like, well, that's too low. I need to speed it up a little bit. So you add a little bit more power. Add a little more power, it speeds up the turbo. Turbo now gets too much pressure, it's too sensitive, starts to leak past the throttle, and you just get into this constant trying to find the right spot. And that's what these things do, and you've got to prevent that. So we got the manually operated, and we had the interconnected interconnected to throttle. And the manual systems use a pressure relief valve. And the upper deck. Or the UD. I just made that up. To keep pressure from exceeding set limits. What did I say? We have three basic types: the fixed, the manually operated, and the, we'll call this automatic. Automatic oil controlled. Let me see. Picture here. There we go. It's even in color. We'll get into the specific ones here, but this is a good drawing to just kind of start with and then work our way back. So you can see I've got notes here. This is light combing. We're going to cover a lot of different systems. I don't want you to freak out like you have to memorize these systems to a point. You don't really have to, but you kind of have to understand it. And there's some keys to understanding it. Like this is a light combing density differential control system. It does two things. It controls the density and the differential. Okay. So we'll circle back around this, but just to look at it right now and get a look at what's happening. We got the air inlet, filtered air comes in, hits the compressor. From the compressor, it's going to go up through our controller, which at this point right now, it's the controller. We'll come back around to that. But you see they have the differential over here and the density over here. So then it's going to go across the throttle. So this part right here is called upper deck. Then we're going to get into here, manifold. From the manifold, intake manifold through the cylinder. Now we've got exhaust gases. Exhaust gases come around. We're either going to go through the we got the Y. Then we're going to go through the wastegate or turbo and then out. All right. So here's our turbo controller. Looks like the pictures we saw before. Okay. Now we got the yellow, which is the oil. All right. So the oil. Oh, okay. So remember, it comes engine oil pressure inlet. So it comes from the engine. I think I drew it backwards on the last drawing, but it didn't matter. Engine oil pressure inlet. So it's coming off the engine. It's going to go in here and feed into here. Okay. If I block this off up here, it will pressurize the piston, push the piston forward. The piston will go forward, and I'll find out. Okay. But if I have no restriction, it's going to freely flow through there, come through here, and go to one of two controllers. So that means if either, it's like mom and dad. All right? If dad says no, but mom says yes, it's going to drain, and nothing happens to this. Got it? Mm-hmm. Oil just find small. Oil can find its way through. Controller says, I don't need you to do anything. It's going to drain, and this does nothing. Dad could be over here saying, well, I want more turbo. And mom said no, so guess what happens? We compromise and we say no. All right.
They both have to be in agreement, basically.
It's
Yes.
a compromise, of course.
Now, I don't know a scenario where this would happen, but if it came around this way and mom said no, but dad said yes, and
Still no.
see, that's the problem. This is an incomplete
Yeah,
drawing. It's still going to drain out. So sorry about that. It's still going to. It can still drain out. So if one allows it to drain, no turbo. They both have to say
Yes.
Yes.
close. Okay. Both have to say I want more turbo.
Yeah.
You have to be in agreement on that. If they both say turbo, then they both have to block off. They both block off. Then this will get blocked off. When that gets blocked off, this is going to go forward. This is going to close that. If it closes this, more turbo this way, turbo on. Got it? Okay, we'll cover this like 8 times.
Perfect.
So, let's see. So it can be oil controlled. So that means that it is piston operated. You did what in your operated?
What is that?
Piston operated. So that means oil pressure is fed to a piston, at all times. Well, asterisk. Not when the airplane's off, it doesn't. But you said all times. As oil pressure builds, waste gate will open or close? Close. Which means
Turbo is in action.
turbo on. I'll try and remember to do that each time. Wastegate's going to start to close, turbo on. When oil pressure is bled off, wastegate opens, and we get turbo off. And the position, the wastegate position is variable. It's not binary. It's not open or closed. And we're going to talk like it is, but it's not. It's variable position. So infinitely variable. And it's, in my mind, I think it's always moving. Just like a constant speed prop, it's always doing a little something. If you can see it, it's never in one spot. It's constantly hunting just a little tiny bit to keep things exact, because airplanes tend to do things. All right, wastegate. Wastegate is never fully closed or open. if it is fully closed, or if it could be fully closed, it could coke up. What's coking?
Not oil change solvent.
Cooked on carbon, don't they get buried?
Coke happens at 300 degrees Celsius? Was it 300 Celsius?
Yeah,
575.
575.
575 Fahrenheit, or I think it's 300 Celsius?
Yeah.
Okay,
That sounds about right.
300 C. All right, so what does that mean? If we coldly block this off and we let the oil go in here and not flow,
Gonna get hot.
that oil's getting pretty dang hot. It's not gonna be happy. So, really wouldn't want that. So, got to bleed somewhere. Yeah, let me see. I wrote here at this point. I don't know if I really want to do that, but I'll just put it. This is why cool down periods are periods. That doesn't even look like I wrote the word. So if you have a turbocharged aircraft, or you watch people flying turbocharged aircraft, they don't land, taxi up to the transient parking and shut down. They're going to sit there for a while. And they're going to let that engine idle. So they're waiting for that turbocharger to cool all the way down. Nice and cool. Because when you shut it down, the oil stops. So whatever oil is going to be in the turbocharger, it's going to sit there. If that turbocharger shaft is 575, you're getting coke. If the wastegate's 575 inside, you're going to get coke. And then you're going to pretty much destroy it. It won't want to turn. It's not happy. So don't do that thing. If wastegate was fully open, I don't know how true this is, but the theory holds true. Fully open and turbine stopped spinning. It would become unevenly heated and have stress cracks. I like that. And stress cracks can form. Yeah, that sounds better. What?
Said it's gonna get gray hairs.
It's gonna get gray hairs?
Get gray hairs. I'm stressed.
That was horrible. Going to the bathroom.
Oh, I have bad news. There's no bath in there. Best you can do is an upper deck splashdown.
No, you're jet black when you started this class.
I know. For a 25-year-old, I don't look too good.
You don't look a day over 17.
Huh?
You don't look a day over 17.
Last night I went to this thing where my son did a talk, but they did an intro with the family, and I don't want to waste your time.
You already started.
I know. I actually have it on YouTube. It's pretty embarrassing. But my daughter-in-law filmed the family doing an intro to my son, and if you guys have you seen my son?
It looks like
Not
something.
here, but pictures, yeah.
Like mini me.
Yeah, it is.